Hello and welcome to another edition of Long Beach Treasures. I'm your host, Harvey Keller. Today we're visiting one of the oldest institutions here in the city of Long Beach, the Farmers and Merchants Bank, with its headquarters located here at 3rd and Pine. And joining me is Doug Pricer, and he's going to give us a brief history of the bank. And Doug, thanks for joining me.
Well, it's great to be here, Harvey. Thank you for having us. This whole thing got started actually in 1895 when a lady named Carrie Ziegler and her mother were coming up Pine Avenue from the post office in their horse and carriage, disappointed that they had not heard from Carrie's fiance, C.J. Walker. And as they approached 3rd Street, which was the nexus of the city in 1895, it was a dirt street, their horse and carriage, C.J. Walker was walking across the street on his way to the Ziegler home. He had come to marry his bride. And they were married that spring in 1895. 12 years later, they opened up a bank right down the street here, 227 Pine, right next to an alley between Broadway and 3rd Street. They stayed there until 1911, and there was a storefront operation, and they'd opened it with 4 other investors. And they stayed there until 1911 and moved right across the street to this building in 1911. This building was owned by a family, I think their name was McKenna. And the McKenna family had that building since 1906. In 1911, CJ and Carrie moved their bank up to this corner, stayed in business and grew and prospered. They kept expanding and moving their offices as they expanding their offices as the need arose. Around 1921, he purchased the lot across the street on the northeast corner of Pine for about $160,000.
Which is in building here.
Which is where the building is now. And finally built this building, broke ground in 1922, and it was finished in 1923. A couple of years later, the tower was built. They hired Curlett and Beelman, who were very prominent architects of the day. They were a very big architectural firm out of Los Angeles.
They did the old Security Bank building,
They
too.
did indeed. They did the Pacific Coast Club. They did the Cooper Arms, did the Security Bank building, and this building. This was the first one. This was the first one they did in Long Beach. So they were the chief practitioners of Italian Renaissance revival in that day, that particular type of architecture. And this building, they use that technique, of course. It's constructed of porcelain glazed cement, so it's actually not marble. Steel reinforced concrete, but it's porcelain glazed cement, 8 fluted columns on each side, and then the convergence down to the angled entrance, the Doric columns topped with a frieze, and then the dentils on the 3rd floor. So they use that motif to build it. Used brass-plated steel for the front doors and both the side doors. And they're actually trimmed in Verona red marble. The smaller doors were always like that. Originally, the front doors were not, but there was an accident in the 40s where an automobile ran into the front door. So when they had to rebuild it, they didn't know how to do it to make it look like it originally was, so they trimmed it in those great big blocks of Verona red marble.
The first drive-in bank?
First drive-in bank was not here. The first crash-in bank, perhaps, but not the first drive-in bank. And that's how they did it. So it was a big thing in its day. It was the most beautiful building of its day when it was opened. 8,000 people came on a Saturday to come to the grand opening. All 45 F&M employees hosted the public. They had an employee band. They provided music. They had food. All of the vendors who had helped to build this building, the contractor, the architects, the people that built the teller's cages, all those folks ran advertisements in the local paper and the Press Telegram to herald the grand opening of the bank.
8,000 people, that must have been all of Long Beach.
Well, pretty close. Long Beach was a pretty small town in 1907. It was all very intimate, you know. It was all, everybody kind of knew everybody. All the business men all knew everyone, of course. They were all friends and associates. And everybody knew Colonel Drake down at the Hotel Virginia. All those people were friends and knew each other. So it was, or at least associates and knew each other. When they opened the tower in 1925, that was the first skyscraper in Long Beach. So all 10 floors of it. And of course the 2-story tall sign, which has become an iconic landmark.
Is that an original sign?
I don't think so in the first year or so, but shortly thereafter. I'm not exactly positive when they put that up. But anyone that grew up in Long Beach, like I did when I was a little kid running around in the 50s, you know, in the 60s. I can tell you of some experience with that sign. There was a Merry Christmas sign across the top, or you just saw it at night, and it was quite a thing. So coming into here, you'll come down here on a business day and talk to some people. You'll meet fourth and fifth generation depositors, people who will tell you their great and great grandparents banked at this bank. It's still very much a family atmosphere. Very unique.
Could we walk across the street and check out the bank?
I think that'd be a good idea. Let's go.
Okay. And here we are in the venerable old bank.
That's right. Here we are in the lovely atrium lobby of Farmers and Merchants Bank of Long Beach. And as you can see, a great deal of detail was put into making this bank the way it was. And I think probably the person most qualified to tell you about it is Dan Walker. And Dan's right here.
Dan, welcome.
How are you today?
I'm fine.
Nice to see you. Welcome to Farmers Merchants
You
Bank.
know, I've been wanting to film this bank for a long time, so today I'm really happy.
Well, we welcome you to come and film it today, and welcome all your viewers to come down and actually look at the building on their own when they get a chance. I think that it's a fabulous building.
Absolutely fantastic.
I agree. The detail that was put here was very much the dedication of C.J. Walker and Gus Walker and my great-grandmother, Carrie Ziegler Walker.
1933, the earthquake. How did the skylight fare?
In 1933, the earthquake did shake this building as much as any downtown, but the building stood very strong in relation to its construction. What we did lose is the windows on both the south side and on the east side. The large pane glasses did break out as the earth shook. We did have some damage done to the friezes on the top of the building just below the skylight there, but beyond that, the restoration was just cosmetic.
What are the walls made out? They look like a certain kind of brick.
They're designed to look like brick in relationship to the strength of the bank, and that's a constant philosophy that you'll hear as the bank is considered strong, conservative, and friendly. But these are plaster walls that are supported here with light brick underneath them, and then the brick design that you see there is actually drawn in and then the color-coded for decoration.
Speaking of safe, am I not correct in that you are one of the safest banks in the nation?
We're one of the safest banks in California, and we're the fourth strongest bank in the United States, is the correct way to say it.
Oh, that's quite impressive anyhow.
Thank you.
I love these cages. It almost looks like something out of Bonnie and Clyde. Have they ever filmed here?
Filming is not done too often because they always want to come during banking hours. So the filming side of the cages is not something that we've had the opportunity to do. But these cages are made of brass material with glass in between. They have a very specific design which is easy for the customers to communicate to our tellers, and then also provides safety to the tellers as well.
Are the chandeliers original?
All the chandeliers that you see in the bank are original off of the ceiling. The ones that are here in the lobby area are made of brass chandeliers, as we had them all cleaned this year, as well as the chains and the emblems on the ceiling themselves. They weigh about 750 pounds each.
Wow.
And very powerful and very decorative units. If the camera could maybe get a close-up on those particular chandeliers, they can show the detail both on the chandelier themselves and then on the emblems above it, as you see the ram's heads on the just above the chandelier themselves. Now the center chandeliers that are in the middle of the lobby, you asked about the earthquake. The furthest chandelier from your camera did actually fall out of the ceiling in 1933, so that was one of the accidents that we had, and that chandelier was repaired and then rehung. When we took the chandeliers down during the renovation, again to clean them up and redecorate them as you see them today, we found that these chandeliers are almost 1,000 pounds apiece. It took 4 to 5 men to leverage these chandeliers in position as they rehung them back up on their original location.
I'm assuming this is gold leaf?
Gold leaf, it is true. Everything that you see in gold is gold leaf. And it not only is right here in front of us and also on the second floor, but then on the skylight too. There's an amazing amount of gold leaf and detail on the skylight itself. And when we were renovating the skylight area, it took almost 14 months of two groups of individuals on a daily basis to put that gold leaf back up and the detail that's on that particular ceiling.
Is the mountain lion your protector here?
Yeah, I think that's a good point, that the mountain lion is a strong protector for us. The story goes back, Gus Walker, who was born in 1899, of course in the Western days when you could carry a gun and hunting was allowed. He did capture this lion as a cougar and shot it and then had it mounted because he was just so proud of the lion itself as the emblem of California and the emblem of what he had done. That was back in 1928 on the rim of the Great Grand Canyon.
Wow. Where else can we go? I want to see it all.
Well, let's take a walk.
Okay.
We have a great deal of opportunity here. If you come down here to the north side of the lobby, we see two areas that have been improved a great deal. The original design of these areas were more for a social environment for our customers, as they would, back in the 1920s through the 1970s and 80s, individuals used to come into the bank. That was where they had their social time. This was an area built for that social type of activity, or as well as an individual maybe preparing their deposits or preparing to do transactions with a bank. What we've gone ahead and done here is to change these areas into the new accounts area. We're focusing on a little more privacy for our customers and focusing on some detailed time with those customers as they come in and open up their new accounts, so they comprehend all the products that we provide for our customers, as well as the services that we can have.
You know, I have to compliment you. At least when you call F&M Bank, you get to talk to someone. It's not push 1 or push 2, and I really appreciate that.
That's something that I don't see changing any time in the future at all. We have two operators that run the main office here, as well as we have operators at each of our offices, so that the phones can be answered when a customer calls. The lines can be directed specifically who you're searching for, and you're going to get your answer on that day, if not that moment.
Gus was your grandfather?
Gus was my grandfather.
And his desk is down here, is that true?
Well, let's walk over here and talk a little bit about this particular area. This area of the main lobby is known as the loan or lending area. If you can imagine, back in 1907, we didn't have MasterCard or Visa. And so many times when an individual needed to borrow some funds, $200, $500, or $5,000, this is the area where they would come and queue up to see a loan officer to get that loan, buy that furniture, get that car, do those different types of transactions that we many times take for granted today. It is still used in the loan area, and we have officers that actually sit in all of these locations. Your camera is viewing the roll-top desks that appear here in it, and these are original desks clear back to 1923. We have refurbished these desks, of course, on more than one occasion, but we felt that maintaining the heritage of the bank and the heritage of what our job is to do for the customer are very important, and that's why we maintained the desk. You brought up the subject of Gus Walker. Did he sit down here? Actually, let's go back to C.J. Walker, the founder of the bank, and truly the man who built this building. C.J. is the founder of the bank, knew that it was important to be with his customers at all times. And so he designed this particular desk here for himself, so that he could be immediately accessible in the lobby at all times for customers' concerns or the needs of a customer. Still today, our president, Kenneth Walker, sits at this particular desk, the one that C.J. Walker, the founder, sat at when he was here.
Can you think of any other bank where the president sits out in the lobby where anybody can just walk up and talk to him?
I am not familiar with another bank that follows this tradition.
That's great. Really unusual.
Very unusual, indeed.
What are the medallions along the top up there?
I'm told that these medallions are friezes that came from Roman influence.
Oh.
And they have no specific meaning to us. I imagine that it was my great-grandmother's influence into the building, as she appreciated the country of Italy very much, and she brought back different pictures of environments that she experienced in her life.
Where else?
Well, we can go downstairs. We're always very proud of our big door, safety deposit door downstairs, so why don't we take a walk down the stairs and take a look at that?
Let's go. Now, this is the vault area.
This is the safety deposit area of the main office. What you have here, let me take you back to 1907, because I think the discussion side of this particular room and the event that you're about to witness here is important. Imagine in 1907, as you're building this building, that you have to install a vault, as you see the vault door standing in front of you. This particular vault is 22 tons, 44,000 pounds. You didn't have big cranes in those days of 1907, and you can't walk a vault door of this size down the stairs after you build the building. So imagine you come in, you build your basement, you pour your floors, you create your vault, and you install the vault door at a very early stage. So the vault door itself was installed at the early part of the construction, and as you see, it's still standing here today. And we use this door each day. The design of this door comes from the Mosler Safe Hamilton, Ohio. And you might say, well, 44,000 pounds, that seems like a lot to lift or move on a day-to-day fashion. And as you can see, the floor goes right up to the vault door. So how do you get this door open and closed? And we've actually prepared it for us to actually do that today. The first thing that you do is you need to lower the floor that's in the checkered pattern. So we release the floor, and this floor is actually not hydraulic. It is actually just carried on sandbags for the counterweights in order that so that the floor can move up and down. So you lower the floor like this. You have the door already open, and this is the manner in which you go ahead and open this door. Now we're going to let you experience this yourself so that you can imagine how heavy this door is. Please don't pull too hard. It's hard to stop. It's not hard to make go. Go ahead and grab that handle and bring that handle forward. And just as you get it going, that's as fast as you need to go, because the door's going to come.
It's going to go by itself.
Very true. So as you can see, the door itself just goes ahead and swings itself, because it's truly just balanced to perfection all the way around.
Wow, that's something.
When I was a younger boy, and I will get to the point of closing it. As a younger boy, one gentleman said, "Would you push me the door?" And as I pushed him the door, I put my foot up against the wall and gave the door a big shove. And it drug him all the way around, and he barely got it stopped before the door slammed. Now that we've gone this far, we push this floor, and it comes back up and locks in place. Put down the ramp for us to go for it. Turn on our light, and you're ready for business.
Wow.
So this is the safety deposit area. These boxes are 1923 vintage and work every day for the major portion of our clients. We have more than 4,000 boxes in this particular location. And then, of course, the safes that you see are other business of the banks that we have on a regular occasion. But you can imagine when the customers came in, a safety deposit box was a very important issue for their day-to-day activities. They would keep their papers in there. There wasn't an electronic world out there, so you had to keep the papers that were drawn for grant deeds or your will or your testament, something of that nature. And so this is the areas where you'd keep it, as well as you might keep your family jewels in there, or you might keep some history of the family and so forth. So the design of the safety deposit area as you remove a box is to go ahead and place it in this location. And as you can see, we actually could have 6 customers at a time in this location. And primarily this was used for you're just coming to get into your box, get something out rather quickly, and put the box back away. All of the boxes are dual control, so they're completely guarded by the bank at all times. You can't get into this box without an employee of the bank, as well as you can't lock it up, so the keys are returned appropriately to the patron who has the box itself. Let's walk outside the vault here for a moment, and I'll show you another piece of interesting portions of banking. This area over here, many people refer to these as confessionals, as you might see.
Look like one.
But they are not. They are specifically designed to be called coupon rooms. And as you can see, I'm sorry the light's not on, but as you can see in this particular room, individuals back in the days when they would buy a bond, in order to collect the interest, they had to cut the coupon off the bond. I know you're a little young to know that, but, but necessarily, that was the activity that was designed for these particular rooms. If you noticed in the room, there's also a plexiglass top to it, and that was a very specific design because if you dropped something that fell underneath the table, you would see it before you left on the day. So that was the focus and specific design for that particular event. But these are original coupon rooms as designed here and maintained. The red light that is up there is if one of the doors are closed, then the red light turns on. And if anybody has a question, they would push the button in the middle of the room, which would ring a bell out here for the attendant to come and help them for any specific need that they have.
Well, you get a really good view of the
gold leaf.
Yes.
This room down here is a very excellent room to see because this gold leaf down here and these rooms down here have been the most protected of all of the bank area. They've been unexposed to natural light, and so the wear and tear on these particular rooms was very light. When we were remodeling the bank, we thought maybe we won't even go down here because it was in such excellent condition. But after seeing the job that was on the main floor, we were driven to go ahead and move down here and refinish this particular part of the building.
And I assume the marble floors are original?
These are not marble floors. These are called terrazzo floors.
Oh.
And a terrazzo floor is a floor that is actually just concrete with a design poured into it. So as you would smooth the floor out, then you would have this particular design. Although the white stripe here is the same Tennessee marble that is on the main floor that you walked on and saw.
Now where?
One of the other charming rooms of the basement, I think, is the boardroom. This particular room was created, let's go ahead and walk inside. This particular room was created for 2 separate reasons. And then it's been modified beyond that. As you can see, this particular room is one of great protection, again, completely original in relationship to 1923, except for I'll go over some of the changes. Originally, this room was designed for multiple purposes. One, conferences that you would have with your clients. Another one was a community room in relationship that we would lend this room out to other environments, nonprofits and profitable areas that needed a room in order to have their board meetings or annual meetings. At the beginning of the bank, our shareholder base was not quite as large as it is today, and commonly we would have shareholder meetings down here on an annualized basis, and it's just been in the last couple of years that our shareholder base has grown beyond the capacity of this particular room.
What is the opening on the table?
In year 2000, you might remember the Y2K episode of the world.
Yes.
In year 2000, we would have the job to upgrade this building to make it fully redundant. That means we have to be able to run on our own generator. and we have to have the capability of a digital environment. This particular square was designed so that we can go ahead and plug in computers, plug in different events. We have electricity on the table as well as telephone on the table. And what we have arranged now is if you have a presentation by a computer, is you would plug it into the centerpiece, and then the screen up here is where you'd go ahead and make your presentation. So in the year 2000, while we were upgrading the building, we went ahead and upgraded this entire room as well, so that you have the opportunity to make presentations. As well as the podium itself, you can make presentations from the podium. It also has its own loudspeaker in case you had a large capacity crowd in this particular room. Another piece that we did in year 2000 is we actually brought air conditioning in this room. It was never air conditioned up to the year 2000. We don't have it turned on today, and you can feel it might be a touch warm. But
is that a tapestry on the wall?
It is a tapestry. Thank you for noticing that. That was brought back from Italy by my great-grandmother, Carrie Ziegler Walker. And she hung that up here in this particular location. We have valued it. It has very little value. So at this point, it's a great sentimental value to the family. And we keep it hung up in remembrance of Carrie Ziegler Walker.
We only have about 3 minutes left if there's anything else that you want to point out real quickly.
Let's do that. In 1923, the main office of the Farmers and Merchants Bank was open, and as the patrons entered the bank, they were very curious as to what the bank was made of. So my great-grandfather, C.J., produced a book which we're taking a picture of here, and it shows not only different pictures of the bank, but it also shows explanation of the areas of the bank and how we were supposed to be using it. It shows the front door, the lobby area, the safety deposit vault that you saw downstairs, and of course the final picture of that is the 10-story portion of the whole bank, which we were operating at that particular time.
Do you still have copies of these?
This is the only copy that I know of that we still have. We may have one more copy here or there, but that's why we tried to put this particular copy behind glass in perpetuity.
All right, let's go up and check out your grandfather's office.
Let's do that.
Now, this was your grandfather's office?
Yes, welcome to Gus Walker's office. This was his particular office, and this was his original roll-top desk where his nameplate of CJ and Gus still stand. My brother Henry occupies this office at this particular time, but Gus Walker was the greatest influence to the office, is the pictures that are on the wall.
And you said this ledger was the first day of business here in the bank?
This particular ledger, as I've opened it to today, dated November 25th, 1907, was the first day of business for Farmers and Merchants Bank, and you can see where the 5 gentlemen contributed $5,000 in capital for $25,000 total, and then we had various funds of how it's to be allocated. We made deposits at the Bank of Oceanside, City National Bank, First National Bank of Long Beach, and then Hanover National Bank in New York for our cross-country transactions, if you wish to say. We also made a loan to 2 individuals totaling $6,000 for the day, and we had customers who brought in deposits of over $5,769.18.
Well, when you said the presidents have their desk down on the main floor, I assume Gus did also?
Gus had a desk down at the main floor, but
he also had an office.
But in the 1960s, he decided to go ahead and move upstairs to this office, and my father, Ken Walker, who was an executive vice president at the time, went ahead and moved into the desk of C.J. Walker.
I want to thank you for taking me on a tour. As I said, I've been looking forward to this for a long, long time, and I finally got my wish. So, Dan, thank you for the tour, and your bank is beautiful.
Thank you very much. And again, anybody who's watching your show, you're quite welcome to come down and visit our bank. It's opened every day, and we'd be pleased to have you come and recognize what the bank's made of.
And if you don't come down and check it out, you're going to be missing a real treasure of Long Beach.
We agree with you there. Thank you.
And that's our show for this time. Join us again next time as we take another walk through history and uncover more Long Beach treasures.